Alright, welcome back guys. What we've got today is another fight against Psy. I recorded a video against him a few months ago when we happened to get matched, and I don't get matched against the top ranked players too much, due to being generally around G1. But this was another opportunity to fight Psy again, so I was pretty excited about it, and I thought I would share it with y'all along with kind of my thought process during the fight, so that maybe it would help you out if you end up fighting a player that's maybe ranked above you, probably has better runes and better monsters, like Psy does, compared to me. So let's take a look. So here's the replay. He gets first pick. First pick's Molong. I would have done the same. I'm going to pause it right here to take a look at the pick ban as soon as they're all up. Let's get in the final picks here. And stop. So one of my problems I have is picking second, because picking first I always pick Molong, and that usually kind of works out, and I kind of know how that flow should go. I'm settling in more and more into Sierra Gani as my counter pick to picking second, which is almost always a Molong pick. Sometimes it'll be a Wusa, but it's almost always a Molong pick. They're both good counters to Molong. One bombs him and stuns him. The other will lock him out and take his bar, and then we go from there. After I pick Sierra Gani, he picks Oki, which is a great counter to Gani. Okis are usually really fast and now can lock down Gani's third skill, which is his main threat. So that was a great pick by him. Artamiel is just a broken monster. No real reason I can see why he would pick it here, other than he's going to bring it every match, and he wants to lock that in so he gets a little bit more time to see my picks. So it's sort of like in poker, like checking when you see a flop so that you can see how the other person's going to bet. So he's going to bring Artamiel every match because he's just really good. So he doesn't need to wait till the last pick. He knows he's going to be in the team, so you might as well lock him in early. A lot of Yonhong users do something similar. They'll lock it in earlier than you would think because they know they're bringing it. All their strategies revolve around it, so they might as well lock it in and wait to see what their opponent picks. Okay, so that being said, after that I put in Triana Perna. I'm finding that more and more I need 2 forms of sustain. And if I don't have 2 forms of sustain, I can just get Bruisered out. There's a lot more Bruiser teams out there. And Triana sort of stepped into the role as, I would say, primary sustain. I picked Triana over Perna quite often. She's got good sustain. She's got a little bit of clear. And she's got the immunity, which she's my only immunity monster. And then Perna against this comp, I don't see any immunity yet. Immunity is really the main thing that kills Perna, so I go with Perna here. His final 2 picks are Tessa, which is kind of the automatic counter pick to Perna, and then Wusa, which is just another good all-around pick. He realizes that I'm not strong in buff removal, and he exploits that. Perna's, I feel like, I see some people pick them the first 2 picks, and really what that does is lets opponents counter pick them with usually a Tessa or, I mean, I've seen like an Avarice, a Raki, things that are specifically Perna killers, and then they allow the Perna and then murder it. Most Pernas are kind of on the slow side. So I'm tending to pick Pernas more in the second round of picks or the final pick. And then my final pick is Vanessa, and I'll explain why later, maybe after the match. I have kind of a new theory on fighting G3s that we'll talk about after the match. But obviously Vanessa Triana is really strong. It mitigates 2 massive forms of damage, so that's why they're in there. All right, let's continue. I ban the Wusa for the reason I just stated. I don't have a lot of counterplay to it, and he bans Gani because Gani is kind of the biggest counterplay to him, especially looking at the turn order here and the fact that he didn't have will runes on multiple units. His Oki still went first without a speed lead compared to my 33% speed lead. I got really lucky. I'm just going to pause it right here. I got really lucky in the Oki getting stunned by the Perna first skill. That was super lucky. So I heal up and I do it for the immunity as much as anything. I'm going to start trying to burn that Molong down. Molong stuns no one. There was someone already stunned, so that was another lucky move. I'm trying to work on the Okeanos because that's his biggest form of crowd control. And usually you can get a sense of what you're looking at in a Molong based on the speed. And it went first, so it can't be max tank Molong, and it's definitely not a DPS Molong if it's going first. So that's something to keep in mind. Look at turn order, and that'll sometimes give you clues into the build. He Molongs down the Vanessa. I've got 1 shot here to deal with this Molong, and I gotta get it done, or he's gonna catch a massive heal from the Artamiel. Luckily, I get a crit Perna onto the water monster. Very lucky. Miss the bomb onto Okeanos. Gets stunned by Artamiel. That's kind of par for the course. He starts working on CR, which is smart. That's one of my main sources of damage, and if he can land Oblivion on Perna, he knows Perna doesn't have 2 lives. Get the bomb. Okeanos down. Everything's going great. So now my goal is to take care of Tessa before Tessa can take care of Perna. He gets Perna's first life. We're just working it down. Nice big hit here. And I'm trying to just delete this guy if I can. Now I'm feeling great because it's 3-on-1. Even though he's a healer, a defense-based healer, I've got ignored defense damage. I've got heals and immunity. It's looking pretty good here. The bomb's up. That's pretty much all we needed. We're getting revenge like crazy. And that's the match there. So why did that work? Going back to the beginning of the match, he got his Oki off, but then I got to cut in. I was lucky I didn't get stunned by Oki a ton, but I do have high resistance on some of my units. I have will on some of my units, so that kind of helped. But my new theory for fighting people that I think outrun me is try to get a speed lead and try to deny them a speed lead. I think the main gap in my runes compared to people whose runes are above me is speed. When I look at their runes, I don't see, here, I'll show you my runes while we talk. I don't see a lot of differences in HP or anything like that. I see differences in speed. So my Molong, which I did not pick in this match, is 255 speed on Violent Will, which is great, but the top tier Molongs are like 270 speed on Violent Will. It's not a lot, but it's enough to make a difference and kind of swing the match. So let's look at the runes of the units I used. Here's Ciara, 228 speed. Speed, HP, attack. This attack rune, I think is going to be hers for forever because it's just a big old tanky attack rune. That flat attack, I'd like to get rid of at some point, but I don't have anything yet. Probably an accuracy would be nice, but that's Ciara, 228. A little bit slower than I would like, but I like where her attack's at for her speed and her tankiness. 1200, 1250 defense, 2800, 28,000 HP, and then like 14, almost 1500 attack. So she's kind of a nice little blend. Accuracy is a little low, but what are you going to do? Perna has been the same for a while. I tried a faster Perna initially, but now I'm sticking with the tankier Perna. Just like in that match, you saw Perna got low, but Perna didn't die to Tessa. And if you build him too squishy, he'll die. He'll get countered. So I like him a little slower, a little tankier. We'll see. Triana, which this is a weird build because I'm like, oh, I can build her better. Like I can build her faster, I can build her tankier, but I don't have a lot of options to build her with this much resist in any other build. So here's her runes: speed, HP. That could be better, but I think it's a legendary rune that rolled into resist. Is that right? Hero rune. Okay, so 2 into resist, 1 into speed. It looks like still usable. And then here's the defense rune here. So that's Triana. She's at 242 speed on Violent Nemesis, 79% resist, 27,000 HP, something like that. And then quite a lot of defense, like 1500 defense. So she's pretty tanky. The Nemesis speeds her up in ways you wouldn't think. Like she's 242 speed, but the Nemesis, she's a target. She's a big old target. So her second turn runs a lot faster than 242 because she's usually taking a big hit to start. So that's her. We looked at the Perna, and then the Ganny is what got banned. The Ganny is 260 speed on Violent Will. Speed, defense, HP, and here are the offset runes. And you can see some of these runes, like that obviously needs a change. I think this was a blue rune. Yeah, it was. But it just rolled more speed than almost any other rune, so here it is. I'd like to switch out that flat attack for accuracy, flat defense, or resist would be nice. Because I can't roll HP and I've already got defense on it, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. So that's Ganymede, and that just happened to be the comp I used against Psy in this case. So I hope that single battle illustrated. Sometimes I see people who they're fighting someone that is way above them and they've sort of given up before they've started, and they're like, oh, it's so-and-so, or they'll quit too early. They'll be like, well, of course I lose. They are, they're better than me or whatever. And, the difference between one of the top players and me is I think speed, probably 20 to 30 speed per unit, something like that. So if I can find a way to close that gap, then I have a shot, So think about that sort of stuff when you're fighting an RTA. There's always a decent chance. You can always learn to pick better. You can always get a better ban. RNG can be on your side because personally I win like 55% of my matches, which I know G2, G3 players win about 60% of their matches. That means they're losing 4 out of 10. And just because it feels like they win 10 out of 10, they're not, you know. Only the very top players can win, you know, like high G3 can win 8 out of 10. And even they lose sometimes, you know. So you always have a shot, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed watching the fight. I was excited to pull a familiar player that I knew of. So I will catch y'all in the next video. Take care, and enjoy the rest of your week, everybody.